Okay guys, welcome back. This is part 2 of my restoration of a vintage 1976 G.I. Joe Adventure Team Talking Commander. Um, this is the deflocking portion of the video. Like I mentioned in the first video, this head's not in the greatest condition, so normally what we do is we just remove the flock and reflock it. This video will detail how we're going to remove the flock. This is actually a head that has had the flocking all removed on it. For the most part, it's ready to actually reflock. It's just an example of what this head looks like deflocked. So I'll just put him off to the side, no biggie. When I deflock my G.I. Joe heads, I tend to go the alcohol route. I use 91% isopropyl alcohol. Get it at Walmart or Walgreens or wherever you can get it. I guess it's a pretty common household product, obviously. I like to do a 1-to-1 ratio, so 1 part alcohol with 1 part water. Since it's 91%, it's pretty potent stuff, so it has a tendency usually to take off most of the glues on all the G.I. Joe heads. Now I know that the actual flocking that was applied on the original heads, they used different types of glue. I have had difficult issues sometimes with some of the glues, but for the most part, the alcohol removes everything with just a minor amount of elbow grease. But I basically soak the head for a few hours in the solution of water and alcohol, and then I remove it with a few different tools. So just drop it in there, make sure that he's submerged fully and let him sit for a while. And then basically I take a razor knife and I just scrape away at the head, and the flocking usually peels off. For the residue and hair that's left over, I use a wire brush, not a very hard brush, but just a pretty soft wire brush to remove most of the rest of the flocking, and then a old toothbrush, a little soap and water to clean up the head before I flock it. So what we'll do is we'll take a break. We'll let this head soak for a few hours, and then we'll come back and I'll scrape it clean and show you the process. Alright guys, I'm back with part 2 of the head flocking, or head flocking removal tutorial, whatever the hell you want to call it, I don't know. Anyways, I've soaked this guy in rubbing alcohol for a little while. So, as I mentioned on the previous video, you just come through after you soak it in the rubbing alcohol and just scrape away at the head. You can see the flocking slowly comes off. Actually, it comes off pretty easy. So this is kind of how I do it. I just use a simple razor knife, the scraping motion, and slowly remove all this old 70s funky Funkmaster flocking. It's a pretty quick process once you get the glue softened and broke down, and you can just go and work your way across the head. I kind of want to note that this razor knife that I'm using, the blade, it's fairly dull. I mean, I use it on a lot of other shit, so it's not going to cut the head. I try not to, dig the blade into the head at all. Basically just run it over the top in a scraping motion. Kind of like you're a barber, You ever got a straight shave from a barber? They're not trying to kill you unless they're, psychotic. But this is a really simple process. It doesn't take very long at all. Like I mentioned earlier, some glues are a little harder to break down than others. I have no idea why. I don't know how to tell the difference between glues, but this guy here is coming off pretty well. I use different types of brushes to get any of the loose flocking off after I'm all done. I recommend, if you're going to do this, have a beer. Makes things go a lot smoother. Preferably a double IPA of some kind. Anything 9% or over. I think you can say that on YouTube still. I don't know. They haven't flagged me yet, so. Anyways. This dude is, he's deflocked. So, the next step after I get the flocking off is to take him, soak him in some, I use OxiClean to soak the heads. And then I scrub them up real well to get any gunk off of them and let them dry out and get them ready to flock with my flocking box. I'm going to post a video today as well of my flocking box I use, and at the end of it I'll have a slideshow of how I built it, so check that video out when it's coming. I've got another video I'm going to post also about retrofitting gung-ho grips to your G.I. Joe vintage bodies. Try to do that today maybe too. Either way, this is part 2 completed. The head is now deflocked, and we will prepare to flock him and move on with this restoration. So, thanks for watching.